Welcome to News9 Mediaverse, and you are watching a special edition on Kashi and Mathura that have emerged as flashpoints. ASI submitted its Gyanvapi Mosque survey report to the High Court, and the next hearing is on 21st of December, which will decide the future course of action. In the Christian Janambhoomi case, the Allahabad High Court has allowed the ASI to conduct the survey of the Idgah Mosque, and its next hearing on 11 Jan, it will decide on the composition of the survey team. Kashi and Mathura have become flashpoints, and there is a lot of important questions. Firstly, can 1991 Religious Worship Act be revisited? Can Parliament repeal the Act? Is the Act sacrosanct? Will Kashi and Mathura open a Pandora's box or correct historical wrongs? Can Kashi and Mathura be another Ayodhya movement? And finally, can they provide additional strength to BJP's 2024 campaign? In the studio, I'm joined by my colleague, input editor Brijesh Pandey. But before that, I go to Brijesh Pandey. Let me play out a couple of important bites of the day on this show.
21 तारीख को इस पर पुनः जो है जिला कोर्ट जो सुनवाई करेगी, उसके बाद निर्णय लेगा कि खुले लिफाफे जो है ये बंद लिफाफा हो या बंद लिफाफे में हो या खुला जो है सारी रिपोर्ट दाखिल हो। मुस्लिम पक्ष नहीं चाहता कि सच सामने आए, क्योंकि ये पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी है। जब ये कोर्ट में दाखिल हो जाएगी तो पब्लिक प्रॉपर्टी हो जाएगी, इसको आप जो है कैसे जो है सीक्रेट रख सकते हैं। मुस्लिम पक्ष जानता है कि सच सामने आ जाएगा, इसलिए सच को दबाने के लिए जो कई सैकड़ों वर्षों से दबाया जा रहा है, उसको और दबाने के लिए जो है मुस्लिम पक्ष बार बार मांग कर रहा है कि इसकी सुनवाई सीक्रेट हो, इसको पब्लिक डोमेन में न जाए, मीडिया में न जाए। ऐसा प्रयास मुस्लिम पक्ष अब भी कर रहा है। उन्होंने एक प्रार्थना पत्र दिया भी है कोर्ट में।
रिपोर्ट सबमिट हुआ है, सबमिट कर दिया है, एसआई वालों ने सबमिट किया है, लेकिन उसे सील बंद किया है, जो कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट का भी आदेश नहीं था। और मुस्लिम पक्ष भी कह रहा था कि सील बंद रहे, सार्वजनिक न किया जाए, वो ये चीज का बात कह रहा था। लेकिन हमारे हिंदू पक्ष के वकील ने कहा कि उसे क्यों, वो सामने आना चाहिए, जो सच्चाई वो सामने आना चाहिए। तो ये 21 तारीख को इसका तारीख दिया गया इसका फैसला आने के लिए।
अयोध्या तो झांकी है, मथुरा काशी बाकी है। जिस प्रकार से एसआई रिपोर्ट 1500 पन्ने का ये रिपोर्ट है और आज सौंपी गई है, और ये दोनों पक्षों को रिपोर्ट दी जाएगी 21 तारीख के बाद। अब मुझको लगता है दूध का दूध पानी का पानी हो जाएगा, क्योंकि आप देखिए जो सर्वे चल रहा था, सर्वे के पहले मुस्लिम पक्ष विरोध कर रहा था जब कोर्ट के आदेश के बावजूद भी, लेकिन अब फैसला जल्द आ जाएगा, क्योंकि भगवान भोले की कृपा दिख रही है। दूध का दूध पानी का पानी होगा, जल्द न्याय भगवान भोले को भी मिलेगा। जिस प्रकार से अयोध्या में भव्य दिव्य राम जन्मभूमि मंदिर निर्माण कार्य चल रहा है, उसी प्रकार से ज्ञानवापी का भी मामला अब हल हो जाएगा।
सील कवर खुलेगा और हमें रिपोर्ट की कॉपी सप्लाई की जाएगी, जो हमारा एक लीगल राइट है। और इस तरह का आदेश नहीं पारित हो सकता है कि रिपोर्ट मीडिया से शेयर ना की जाए। पहले भी जो 10 अगस्त का ऑर्डर हुआ था कि रिपोर्ट का आप जो सर्वे हो रहा है उसके बारे में नहीं बोलेंगे, ऐसा कोई भी प्रावधान सीपीसी में नहीं है। पर मामले की संवेदनशीलता को देखते हुए हम लोगों ने उसके बारे में कोई अपील नहीं की। पर सीपीसी में ऐसी कोई प्रक्रिया नहीं है जिससे मीडिया को बाधित किया जा सकता है कोर्ट की प्रोसीडिंग्स रिपोर्ट करने के लिए। इनफैक्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने यह बात कही है अपने जजमेंट में दैट सनलाइट इज द बेस्ट डिसइंफेक्टेंट, और आप कोर्ट की प्रोसीडिंग्स को आप इन कैमरा प्रोसीडिंग्स नहीं बना सकते हैं। कोर्ट की प्रोसीडिंग्स को हर आदमी को अवलोकन करने का, सुनने का अधिकार है, और उसको आप नहीं रोक सकते। आजकल तो कितनी ऐसी हियरिंग्स हो रही है सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जिसका लाइव टेलीकास्ट किया जा रहा है, और यहाँ पे बात हो रही है कि रिपोर्ट सील कवर में रखी जाए और उसको किसी को दिखाया ना जाए। राम मंदिर की रिपोर्ट भी पब्लिक डोमेन में, उसको सब लोग देख रहे हैं, इसलिए इस रिपोर्ट को सील कवर में फाइल करना, ये हम कह रहे हैं एएसआई ने आज ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऑर्डर का उल्लंघन किया है, और 21 तारीख को हम कोर्ट से मांग करेंगे कि इस रिपोर्ट की कॉपी सबको दिखाई जाए।
I'm also joined by Harishankar Jain, senior advocate, Gyanvapi case. I'm also joined by Anil Verma, political analyst. But before I go to them, Brijesh, tell me, do you think that it's a precursor to other important developments?
Well, yes, Kartikeya. I mean, if you look at the fact that general elections are literally around the corner, and BJP, which is buoyed by the spectacular victory it scored in the 3 states, and also the fact that on 22nd of January there's going to be Pran Pratishtha of Ram Lala Temple. I think the wind is blowing heavily in favor of the BJP, and this is the reason why these orders or these cases have gathered new momentum. I honestly personally don't think so that the BJP will want to use these cases as as a rallying point, because I think they are standing very solidly right now as far as politics is concerned. But come closer to 2027, which is when Uttar Pradesh will go to poll, I think Kashi and Mathura will be the rallying point as far as that election is concerned.
हमारे साथ हरिशंकर जी भी जुड़े हैं. हरिशंकर जी, ये जो दोनों मामले हैं, can anyway they be affected by the Worship Act which was passed when Narasimha Rao was Prime Minister? आपको लगता है?
क्या फिर से कहिए, क्या आपने
जो नरसिम्हा राव ने कानून पास किया था, रिलीजियस वर्शिप एक्ट, क्या ये जो दो मामले हैं उससे अफेक्टेड हो सकते हैं?
बिल्कुल नहीं. प्लेस ऑफ वर्शिप एक्ट का इन दोनों मामलों से कोई मतलब नहीं है. और ये भी बतला दूं, ये जो बनारस वाला मामला काशी का, प्लेस ऑफ वर्शिप एक्ट के बारे में प्लीट किया गया था और उन्होंने मुस्लिम पक्ष ने दरखास्त कोर्ट में दिया था. दैट एप्लीकेशन has been rejected by High Court, wide order dated 31st May 2023. Again, that they have filed SLP in the Supreme Court, which is pending, and no order has been passed. Now the SI survey is on. SI survey report has been filed, and SI survey report will clarify everything. Unnecessary place of worship is being pleaded by the other side, as well as in Mathura also. Place of worship act has no impact, at all no impact. You go into depth. What is the law? One thing is said, religious character has to be determined. Court is entitled to decide religious character, determine religious character of the property in question. Religious character, when you define, the court will see whether it is a temple or a mosque. It is court will decide. Unnecessary, since we are habitual of saying, accepting everything said by Muslims. If they say it is mosque, we presume it is mosque. Though it is not. So don't go by place of worship act. That misnomer has been created by Muslims. Place of worship act will be seen by the court. Here the question whether survey should take place or not. You people unnecessary. I don't think why in the place of worship act. A place of worship may be, but this question is religious character will be determined. And kindly consider one thing. The Muslim will have to prove that it was for property. And it was not constructed after demolishing a Hindu temple. Once they prove, or I prove, whether it was a temple or not, then the question of applicability of that will come into picture. Only determined whether it is a mosque or a temple. And mosque or temple can be determined according to its make, according to when it was established, when it was created, and when constructed.
Okay.
And Muslim will have to prove. Just a minute. Muslim will have to prove there is work property. Then who dedicated? Where is the property? All these will have to prove. But one misnomer being created by Muslims, and every media and everybody is saying place of worship without going and without studying.
नहीं मिस्टर जैन, आपने मेरा सवाल नहीं सुना था. मैंने सवाल आपसे ये पूछा था, क्या आपके हिसाब से रिलीजियस वर्शिप एक्ट इस पूरे मामले में दखल रख सकता है? ये सवाल था. मैंने ये नहीं कहा था कि होगा. ये सवाल पूछा था मैंने आपसे.
मैंने कहा नहीं हो सकता है.
बहुत बढ़िया. ठीक है. ठीक है. आई एम ऑल्सो जॉइन्ड बाय मिस्टर वर्मा. Mr. Verma, do you think that now similar demands can take place in other areas which are contested, where older structures were destroyed? Do you think that this demand can slip out from Uttar Pradesh and can also create new such contests? मैं आऊँगा आपके पास. हरिशंकर जी, मैं आपके पास आऊँगा. हाँ.
Kartikeya, I think your question is hypothetical, but then we cannot rule out the possibility of what you are saying. And because there are very clear-cut evidences in history which clearly say, and Akhbar, there is a court bulletin called Akhbarat. In that 1670 February 1670 edition of that Aurangzeb's Akhbarat court bulletin, it is the court, the demolition order is clearly stated. So there are indications from the history that something wrong had been done to the Hindu structures, and that cannot be, ruled out. And we have evidences and counter evidences. So that is a matter of legal contestation. But the public perception is that whenever the outsiders came here, especially the Muslim invaders came here, they destroyed. And it's not a wild guess to imagine that so many Hindu temples were destroyed. And there are a lot of evidences. And therefore, as the court is going through the ASI evidences, as we have seen in the Ayodhya case, and thereafter probably we'll also see in the Gyanvapi. So that conviction, this conviction is gaining ground that surely there are structures where the Muslim invaders had destroyed Hindu structures and built their mosques. And therefore, if these cases are revealed by the ASI reports that yes, in these places this thing has happened, then it is very natural that other people and other places where such evidences are very writ large, they might also demand that Hindu temples, they should be extricated from that historical, perpetration and given a character which they deserve.
But,
Kartikeya.
Okay, but Mr. Verma, a lot of people would say that this might end up opening Pandora's boxes because India had been a ground where multiple religions came, multiple structures were raised down. So you might have a dozen more cases coming out like that.
I don't rule out that possibility, Kartikeya, and there are certain very hard facts of history which you cannot just keep under the carpet for all the time. After all, we have been so patient, Hindus have been so patient as not to take to violence and take to legal routes. But, there is a limit to the patience of any community which has been praying these lords. And these lords are not only their religious symbol, but they are also ingrained in their cultural psyche all over the country and globally also. And therefore, I don't see that if, because of these judgments, if this thing proliferates and the Pandora box opens, I cannot rule out the possibility, and the country would have to probably, and the best way, is that all the time the amicability is enforced on one section of the society, that the same logic should apply to the other side also.
ठीक है, हरिशंकर जी आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे थे? जी
Actually, we should not be fearful of claiming or opening the Pandora box. One may do or not do, but I have taken a vow that I will expose all the temples throughout the country which were demolished at any point of time in past. And we have collected materials in about 16 temples. There is a file on my table. And we are going to take it up in the whole of India. That includes Rajasthan, Bihar, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, etc. Everything. And we can't tolerate so much depression and that the cities will go on, which we are wearing on our chest since long. Why was fearful if Pandora was opened? And number two, what my friend was saying just now, that will give right to election prospect. Will give. Why should not give? It is political agenda of the voters, of Hindu voters, that we will not tolerate a government or a parliament which cannot enact law in our favor, which cannot do justice with us. That is our claim. And at least I declare, I say, that I am going to open all the cases and it will come before you very soon.
Okay.
That in all the cases throughout the country, wherever I find, I will file the petition.
Brijesh, I want to ask you a question. Legally, do you think it's possible to revoke the Religious Worship Act because it's an act of the Parliament? Can it be revoked through a legislative action?
Well, yes, it can be.
I
think yes,
because it was passed by simple majority.
Simple majority. The Parliament can introduce certain caveats to the legislation and get it passed by 3/4 majority in both houses of Parliament. So that can be done. I mean, it's a hypothetical question, but the answer is yes, it can be done. There is no.
हरिशंकर जी आपके पास आएंगे. एक ये सवाल हरिशंकर जी आपके पास आऊंगा. ये सवाल ब्रिजेश से पूछा है. एक मिनट ये सवाल ब्रिजेश से पूछा, आपके पास आऊंगा. 1 मिनट दे दीजिए. 1 मिनट.
Yes, definitely they can. There is no denying that. It'll be very extremely interesting to see, how the court had rejected, and I would love to hear it from Mr. Jain as to what were the grounds on which the court rejected that. Because what we were given to understand was that post other than Ram Temple in Ayodhya, no other old cases will be taken up. But I think, Mr. Jain has made his future scheme.
But there's also one more thing, if you recall Mohan Bhagwat's statement, he said कि हर मस्जिद के नीचे मंदिर नहीं ढूंढना चाहिए. What I want to understand is that Ayodhya was a movement in history. It galvanized the entire nation, and BJP immensely profited from it. It created a strong base of voters, and even till today with the Modi combination, it has beaten every political party black and blue, and that was the political agenda, part of the manifesto. How come these two issues are not being openly taken up by RSS? I want to know, because you cover BJP and RSS. Why is that difference of position vis-a-vis Ayodhya and Kashi and Mathura?
No, when you are in power, you adopt a certain slightly different attitude than you adopt when you are in the opposition. The statement which was made by Mohan Bhagwat that we should not start looking for mandir under every masjid was severely criticized. I honestly don't remember. Maybe I'll love to stand corrected that any RSS Sarsang Chalak was subjected to this kind of vile abuse, trolling on social media, true. And people did not mince their words. So it was very clear that it's like riding the tiger. If you try to get down, you get eaten by the tiger. The interesting part is Kartikeya is that as Mr. Jain is saying, will there be an end to it? Going by what Mr. Jain is saying, it doesn't look like that there's going to be an end to it. Okay. So how long are you going to do is a very interesting question politically to look at.
Mr. Verma, what is your take on the different position which the RSS has taken on this issue? They have a different articulation when it came to Ayodhya. Post Ayodhya, they have positioned themselves differently. In your opinion, why is that?
You see, as far as I understand, RSS looks at the entire country, in a long-term perspective, not only one temple or two temples. They have a long-term, perspective probably. And looking at the fact that the Muslim population is very huge, one thing is very clear that the Hindus and Muslims, they have to coexist in this country. And they have to coexist in a democratic system. Of course, RSS would like that in democratic system, the game of number, the demography becomes a very important. So demography is a very important component in democracy. And looking at the numbers, the way Muslim population is growing, in the futuristic thing from two angles, from the democratic angle that you have to keep, numbers on your side, that is one. And without Muslim support, that cannot be possible, that is one. And the second is that the amicability, the Hindu culture, approves of this plurality right from the beginning. And if there are so many people, especially the Muslim component, we have lived for ages and we will live for ages again. So this combination that we have some differences historically, some historical wrongs have been there, they have to be corrected, and at the same time democracy has to be maintained, and through democratic political system we have to bring some kind of amicability within the two major communities in the society. These are the probably three parameters which guide the RSS in taking positions on these issues.
हरिशंकर जी, आप तो इस पूरे व्यवस्था से शुरू से जुड़े हुए हैं. जो संघ का इन दो मसलों को लेके जो रवैया है और जो अयोध्या को लेके जो सवाल मैंने अनिल जी से पूछा था, आपका क्या मानना है? आप तो शुरुआत से जुड़े हुए हैं इस पूरी व्यवस्था से.
बिल्कुल सही कह रहा है. मैं 1989 से इस आंदोलन से जुड़ा हुआ हूँ और 34 साल से हिंदुत्व के काम में लगा हूँ, और हिंदू राष्ट्र हो, यही मेरी संकल्पना शुरू से रही है, आज भी है, और मरते दम तक हिंदू राष्ट्र की बात करूंगा. इस देश को हिंदू राष्ट्र बनना चाहिए और बनाने के लिए हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं. दूसरी बात मैं ये बता दूं कि संघ हमारी मातृ संस्था है। हेड गवार साहब, गुल गोवारकर जी और जितने भी हमारे संचालक हैं, सर संचालक हुए हैं, हम सबका आदर करते हैं, सबको नमन करते हैं। और मातृ संस्था है हिंदुओं की आरएसएस, इसमें कोई शक नहीं है और किसी को शक होना भी नहीं चाहिए। परंतु ये भी कह रहा हूं कि जैसे अपनी माँ और पिता की बात की भी अवज्ञा की जाती है, बच्चे कर देते हैं और करना पड़ता है, उसी तरह से हम लोग, जहां तक हिंदुत्व की बात है, कठोर कट्टर हिंदुत्व की बात है, उस पर किसी की बात सुनने नहीं जा रहे हैं। और हमको इस आंदोलन को लीगल ढंग से आगे बढ़ाना है, हिंदू राष्ट्र की संकल्पना को पूरा करना है, और जितने मंदिर टूटे हैं उनको वापस लाना हमारा धर्म है, कर्तव्य है। इसके लिए हम लोगों ने कस्में खाई है। और तीसरी बात यह है कि किसी को ज्यादा दिन दबाया नहीं जा सकता। जो मुस्लिम गुलामी की मानसिकता है वो आज भी चल रही है, हमको उस मानसिकता छुट्टी पानी पड़ेगी। और डेमोक्रेसी का मतलब होता है रूल ऑफ द मेजॉरिटी। जब रूल है तो जो जनता चाहेगी वही शासन होगा और वही कानून बनेगा। जो
इसमें एक थोड़ा सा फर्क है, मेजॉरिटी और मेजॉरिटेरियनिज्म में तो फर्क होता है, ये अंग्रेजी के दो शब्द हैं।
I believe
there's a difference between majority and majoritarianism. You can have a liberal majority, you can have a humble majority, जैसे Mr. Anil Verma said, you can have an accommodating majority. I'm quoting Mr. Verma.
Sir, I don't believe in humble majority. Majority means complete majority, and do everything which is fruitful for the country, for the nation, and for the community. There is no question of humbleness. 1000 साल तक हम उल्लेस कह के मंदिर तोड़वाते रहे, अपने धर्मांतरण कराते रहे, अब नहीं दे सकते। भूल जाइए।
ठीक है। You know, anyway, India by law and practice is a secular country, so it's part of a constitution. And Bharatiya Janata Party has not amended the constitution also. It has not amended the constitution. It has not changed the character of the Indian constitution. मेरी बात तो सुन लीजिए, आप पूरी अपनी बात खत्म कर लेते हैं और मैं बोल रहा हूँ, आप मुझे रोक देते हैं। And I am the anchor of the show. Nonetheless, Brijesh, do you think next month you have Pran Pratishtha at Ayodhya? Entire mobilization, the entire I would say in Hindi, पूरा तामझाम उसके लिए है पूरा का पूरा. In context of Ayodhya and the sort of preparation which has been done nationally, do you think that this might get pushed little ahead, as you said, closer to the other big election?
Well, I think, if you look at the 2000, one very interesting thing, which Mr. Jain said, and it'd be too tempting for me to let it go off. He made a very clear distinction between RSS and, as I was saying, when you're riding the tiger, if you try to get down, you run the risk of being eaten by the tiger. And it's clearly pointing to that, Kartikeya. He said that RSS may not believe in, RSS being the Matra Sangathan, if they don't believe in hardcore Hindutva, then like sons, disobey their fathers or mothers, we are there to disobey. So that was a very interesting point which was put forward. And second, Kartikeya, I think,
But I don't think there's anything hidden in that. When Mr. Mohan Bhagwat said that, I mean, this was the trolling
usually people don't
time TV. I, as a journalist of 2 decades, was stunned the language which was used. But
usually people mince word, and to full credit to Mr. Jain that he didn't mince any word whatsoever. What he was feeling was there in his articulation. But I think, when you have elections literally around the corner, being announced either by mid-February or by the end of the February, and the Pran Pratishtha taking place on 22nd of January, I honestly don't think, Kartikeya, that the BJP would want any kind of help from any kind of spectacle whatsoever. What will start on 22nd of January, trust me, Kartikeya, will end on the day the government will take over.
Okay, one last question to you, Mr. Verma. One last question to you. Most of these demands, I really want to understand, have taken, have come from northern part of this country. Very few have come from the southern part of this country. Any reason for that?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
My question is that most of the demand where historical wrongs or injustices have taken place have come from the northern part of the country. Very few have come from the southern. Any specific reason for that?
One reason is that the Muslim onslaught was not that, vibrant in the south. And most of the south temples, they do not see this kind of Gyanvapi or Ram Janmabhoomi kind of duo, where you have the mandir broken and the masjid erected over there, or there is an adjacent mosque. There are very less examples. If you visit the temples in the south, you will not find much, evidences of that. So in South, that is one reason that these kind of conflicts are very less over there, and that's why. But obviously, the people of South, if you visit Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, they are very religious actually, and probably in the Kashi Tamil Samagam, which has been taking place for the last few months, in our country. There is trying to be a connect between the religious psychology of the north and the religious psychology of the south, and also a cultural confluence. But probably there might be a hidden agenda to connect the south with this north psychology. And if at all there are any temples in the south after these evidences and revelations of ASI, if there are at all any such temples in the south, the demands might also come from the south.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a feeling of deja vu, हरिशंकर जी. आपको शायद याद नहीं होगा कि जब हाई कोर्ट का वर्डिक्ट आया था लखनऊ में, तब मैं किसी दूसरे चैनल में था, खाने की सारी दुकानें बंद थी, तो विष्णु मुझे आपके घर लेके आ गया था, और मैं तब मेरी आपसे ना मुलाकात थी, ना परिचय था, ना मैं आपको जानता था. मैं बहुत परेशान खड़ा हुआ था, मुझे सुबह से खाना नहीं मिला था, और ना मैं विष्णु को जानता था. तो मुझे हाथ पकड़ के मोटरसाइकिल में बिठा के लेके आ गया, और शायद एक अदालत में थे, क्योंकि वो पढ़े जा रहे थे तब रविशंकर प्रसाद और बाकी लोग एक के बाद एक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहे थे वहाँ लखनऊ में. तो और उसके बाद आज मुझे आपसे मौका मिला बात करने का, बहुत अच्छा लगा. लेकिन जब ये जजमेंट आया था हाई कोर्ट का, तो विष्णु के साथ मैं आपके घर में खाना खा रहा था. लेकिन हरिशंकर जी, किसी और दिन मेरी आज कहना बहुत जरूरी था, क्योंकि उस दिन के बाद आज पहली बार आपसे बात हो रही है, जबकि आपके जो पुत्र हैं मुझे लेके आपके घर चले गए थे खाना खिलाने. बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. आई एम सो थैंकफुल दैट मिस्टर वर्मा यू कुड ऑल्सो मेक टाइम. थैंक यू ब्रिजेश. बट देन आई वुड से दैट certain issues cannot be dealt legislatively. Certain issues have to be resolved by the society. If these issues cannot be resolved by society, I think we will only look at legal action. Unless and until there is political consensus, the matters will continue to go to court. It will be impossible to stop any matter of faith to be stopped by law. It has to be resolved by consensus at a cultural level. It cannot be prevented through law, because these are not the issues of crime, these are the issues of faith. Thank you, all of you.
They picked my husband. He was tortured there for 2 years. He was enforced disappeared. We had no idea where he is. Within 15 minutes, we got the information that the whole area is surrounded by